Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over kind of a question that was asked on the forums. At this time guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content and information. Anyway, Shogaz was asking on the forums to have it explained why Lily's adrenaline rush does less than 5,000 damage to Kapoor. Now, this is actually not completely true. Well, it kind of depends on what Kapoor's HP is at and if his dexterity ends up triggering or not. And it's actually a very confusing ability to an extent. And I think part of that's just because we don't see many characters that have tenacity or dexterity. And this is a very specific situation because we've seen it before where in one of my videos I did Kapoor Breaks the Game, where we get an infinite amount of hemobleed and he just doesn't die because he keeps healing. But with his dexterity, it's a combination of tenacity and evasion, and it's actually the tenacity part that we want to focus on because that's what's triggering, that sometimes prevents damage from killing a toon. So if your character who has tenacity or dexterity is going to take enough damage when their HP is over 20% to kill them, their HP will then be reduced to 19% instead. So this could be a very easy thing to trigger and kind of put in a circle, like a loop, if your toon is constantly healing every turn, while dexterity or tenacity could be triggering every single turn. So in this video, I will be rushing each of these toons with my Lily, and Lily does 5,000 Maim damage on her rush. So to not influence anything, I'm going to make sure that Lily's the only one that ends up attacking. You can see that Kapoor has more than 5,000 HP. This is intentional, and I'll explain that to you when we get to the film. And all the rest of the toons have less than 5,000 HP. When we jump into the first attack, we'll notice that Kapoor has more than 5,000 HP. He has 5,014 HP. You would think that when Lily rushes, that should trigger his dexterity, but it doesn't. And that's because his max HP is being reduced, so tenacity, or in this case dexterity, would only trigger if we had sufficiently lowered Kapoor's HP without reducing his max HP first. So in this specific case, when we attack Kapoor, we end up doing 17 damage to start. When we take a look, he has 4,997 HP. When we rush with Lily, we deal a total of 4,044. Just using simple math, 5,014 minus 4,044 minus the 14 gives a total of 956, and 5,014 HP, which was what Kapoor's max HP used to be, times 19% equals about 956. It's actually 953, but I'm guessing that there's some rounding issues. So mathematically, this makes sense with how Kapoor is actually acting and how the 5,000 Maim is affecting his max HP. He really has 14, and that's his maximum amount because he has sustained that 5,000 Maim damage, which is why he can't heal past that point. Now, it's kind of interesting because in other scenarios, you can definitely see the characters acting a little differently. And one example, and I didn't get this on film, but I did write down what happened. So a character has 1,065 max HP. Their HP is reduced by 1,000 Maim damage. So there's 65 HP left. But because of 1,065 times 19%, which equals 202, so their health would actually be 65 out of 202, and the Maim would have been reduced. Now what you guys have been seeing that I've been testing is just seeing how Lily can straight out kill some of these tenacity and dexterity toons, and that's because their max HP is being reduced to 0 entirely. So it's different than Kapoor, who I mentioned before, where if his max HP is high enough, the amount from the maiming shot that's coming from Lily will actually be reduced by the dexterity. In this case, it didn't occur because my Gerald wasn't able to apply enough damage to Kapoor to trigger it. There's a sweet spot for this occurrence to actually work, and it's very, very specific and hard to find. Like, it took me a while to get these specific testing circumstances right, and it's definitely not something you want to rely on. Like, it's kind of nice to know that with Tenacity and Dexterity tunes, if their HP is low enough, you can still one-shot them, because in most cases they take multiple hits to take down. Now, I will say this, I did not personally know about this before starting to make this video, so I actually learned something from this as well. Just, I didn't know before that you could one-shot these characters at all. I thought it was impossible, because I thought the mechanism of Tenacity as well as Dexterity, their true point was to force enemies to have to make multiple attacks to actually defeat them. So I just wanted to add that feel free to ask me questions, especially on the forums. I'm checking the forums a lot more regularly to kind of see the questions people are asking to give clarification, because this is what I like to test. I find it to be quite enjoyable and fun. So moving on back to the video here, like, there are other tunes that do Maim on their rushes, so this could be a simple way to take out some tunes immediately. Like, I'm not saying high HP tunes, but like Regina was one that we used back in the day. She was a great Season 4 tune to use. Zachary was always a huge tune, and I'm not saying that these tunes are extremely relevant at this moment, but if there's ever a 6-star arena, because we have a 5-star old school arena, and we're moving through the S-class stage now, we've passed 6 stars, you just never know what could happen in the future. So everyone, let me know in the comment section below if you were aware of how Tenacity and Dexterity worked with the Maim damage or not. It's kind of a good, I guess, question for me to ask you guys to see if this was something in your repertoire or not. I know that I personally learned something, and I really hope that all of you guys do. I try to tailor my videos so that I explain some of the nitty-gritty, difficult concepts, or the ones that are a little bit confusing. If you guys have any other ideas or suggestions on things that I should cover, feel free to let me know in the comment section, or on Discord, or online, or on forums. Just shoot me a message and I'll be sure to look into it if I haven't already done a video on it. And just to give you guys kind of a heads up on what I am working on at the moment, I'm working on a video on Sheldon's pistol and its functionality, because I've had probably 3 or 4 questions about it. I'm going to do a video on how defense stacks in matches to kind of explain what buffs stack and what don't. I'll try to make a video about how certain weapons function, especially the 4th slot. I know that can be very difficult to understand because sometimes the description doesn't really tell you when or how the weapon would be effective. I think I'm going to do a video on weapons that people should try to craft if they're not crafting anything in particular, and where these weapons would prosper, I guess. So like a team player 4 weapon is definitely a weapon that everyone should be gunning to get. It can help most attack teams out, so long as they're aggressive attack teams and not passive, and that's something I can also talk about in a separate video. I'm also going to be doing a video on Firestarter tunes, just because there was an update to Firestarter, and I didn't realize how it kind of changed the ability. Well, not really changed the ability, but changed when it would function or work, I guess. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video.